Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at TEMI. TEMI is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. Each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry. And today we're lucky enough to have an amazing guest joining us, Shawn Olds, co-founder and co-CEO of boodleAI. Shawn, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Barry. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So thank you firstly for taking time out of your day to speak with us. We really do appreciate it. Let's start just by getting to know you a little bit better. Would you mind telling us a bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
Sure, absolutely. I started college at West Point as a computer science major. I will fully disclose the languages I learned to program in. They now teach in the history of computers class. So I did not code our platform. I have a great team who did. I went into the Army, couldn't fly out of airplanes properly, so the Army let me go, and I went into startups. And pretty much for 20 plus years have been building companies both domestically in the US and then internationally. I took a brief respite after September 11th, went back into government service doing counterterrorism work in Southwest Asia and Africa. Then came back from that, went to grad school, ended up in the Middle East for 8 years, building companies over there, and came back when my co-founder, who I had also gone to Ranger School with, we met in the U.S. Army Ranger School with, came up with the idea of Boodle. And we have been building it for the past 8 years. I jokingly like to tell people we were doing AI before AI became cool last year. That being said, we have definitely evolved the company and fully embraced the opportunity that generative AI has presented us, both as individuals and as teams.
That's quite a journey that you've been on. You've obviously worn a lot of hats. So in your current role, do you still have to wear a lot of those hats, or do you find that you're more of a specialist nowadays?
Absolutely not. And I think any entrepreneurial team, indifferent to your title, you carry a lot of roles. There's not a single person. We have 14 people on our team now that are full-time, and not one of them is pigeonholed into one thing. Our data team, which is phenomenal, has turned into our R&D team. But they still at times get pulled in to be our Q&A team as well. And so it's the nature of a startup and building a business. There are very few specialists. People need to be able to wear multiple hats if the organization and the mission is going to be met.
What was it that caused you to go from serving in the armed forces to thinking about starting a tech company? That's quite a jump.
Total accident. I entered the military as a kid who grew up in the military. So I knew when I graduated from West Point, my entire path from platoon leader to chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And as I said, had a parachute accident, and so had to get out of the military and happened to fall into a consulting firm. Mind you, this is the late 90s. That was one of the first that was willing to take their payment half equity, half cash. And so we ended up working with a company called etoys.com as they were trying to secure their A round of funding. And I got the experience of being with them A round, B round, C round, IPO, $8 billion valuation, debt spiral, bankruptcy. I got to see the whole thing. And that was where the entrepreneurial bug bit me. And being in the military in many ways can be very entrepreneurial. You've got to think on your feet. You've got to adjust quickly. And you're constantly asked to innovate and find new ways to do things. And so it was not an unnatural move. I had the technology background, and that was where I focused initially, was on building tech companies.
Perfect. Amazing. So how does your company ensure trust in its IT infrastructure while also fostering innovation?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most important things. Everything we build has a foundation in security. You've got to have robust measures in encryption, access control, vulnerability. All of that gets built into the back. But then you've also got to, forward facing. So obviously one of the first things you do is get SOC 2 compliant. You start to make sure that you're falling in line with GDPR, CCPA as they apply to you. And then if you're in the health space, looking at HIPAA. Many times, though, people can get concerned that that's going to constrain them. And we've made sure, and it's much easier with a smaller team, but we've always made sure to foster an environment of innovation where people are allowed to go out and make mistakes. We have a big, in the office we do have, no, we're a mostly remote team, but in the office we do have, there's a big sign that says failing is not failure. And we want people to go out and make mistakes, because from that, we're going to learn, we're going to get better, and we're going to get a more evolved product that people can actually use and that they want. So We definitely outline clear governance, we outline risk management, but I think you can do that in concert with really emphasizing on innovation and a culture of innovation that allows you to move forward and achieve new heights.
And can you just provide a little bit of insight into like the competitive landscape of your industry?
Yeah, the Gen AI market, and to keep in context, it's been around 18 months. I mean, Gen AI has definitely been around for more than 8 years in research, but ChatGPT, OpenAI really went into the market and opened it up. And it's not quite 18 months, but it is growing at a rapid pace. There's a group of diverse competitors. Of course, at the top, you've got Google, Microsoft itself, and then its investment in OpenAI. You've got Meta, and they're all driving innovation with their vast resources. You've also got specialized startups like Stability, Jasper AI, that are really focusing on niche areas like image generation or code assistance. What we really enjoy is the opportunity to bring all of these competitors together in one interface, because while there's been a lot of hype around generative AI, there's not been a lot of adoption. McKinsey at the end of last year in December said that less than 10% of the workforce is actually adopting it. So when you look at all of the different competitive dynamics that are put out there, and then they're being challenged with open source models. So we saw Llama, we saw Mistral launch last year, which is really putting a strain on those that want to take the pricing up, because now there's other options where I don't need to pay high prices to do it. That being said, pricing to get into generative AI is dirt cheap. I mean, when you think about the ability to get on at $10, $20, $30 a month, and not paying tens of thousands of dollars for an enterprise license, which is what you used to have to do for AI access. So as we look at it, we look at what the big companies are doing right now. Most of them started last year by throwing a ChatGPT wrapper on whatever they were doing. We're now stepping in because there are a lot of CIOs, CISOs, they don't want to make a commitment to, hey, here is our enterprise solution. Unless they're building it in-house, like McKinsey has done, PwC has done, they're trying to figure out what to do. And that's where Boodlebox has been very valuable, is we can work with teams on a non-enterprise basis so that teams can understand, hey, what is it out of generative AI we really need to do? What do we need to get out of it? And then I think what you see, very long-winded way to answer your short question, what you're going to see is a move towards enterprise solution, whether that is a home-built one or going to a company who provides it.
So you kind of touched on there what's going to happen in the very short, near future, but what are the anticipated technological advancements that your company is preparing for in the future?
Yeah, I mean, what we're very, very focused on is collaboration and productivity between teams, right? Because right now, if I use, and I still use ChatGPT and Bard to, kind of test out and see where they're at in every new model that comes out, it's a very lonely, siloed experience, right? I get to do what I want to do. And by the way, if I do something great, and I take 20 minutes to do it, and then I screenshot it and send it over to a colleague, and they want to recreate it, they have to go through that whole 20 minutes on their own. AI is supposed to save time, not duplicate time at work, right? And so what we wanted to do was provide a platform that allowed you to easily save your work and let your colleagues continue it. Or one of our greatest features is group chat, where I can start something, realize, Barry, I need you in the conversation, and I just pull you in. And instead of you and I scheduling a meeting for an hour, and we know we've got a dozen other people on the call, 40% of them are multitasking, they're not paying attention. And at the end of the hour, we walk out with 10 to-dos that we're all going to go sit in our little silos and do. Now, real time, we can use generative AI together, and we can walk out of a meeting with accomplishment, not to-dos. And so the real focus is, how do we bring teams together, allow them to collaborate, allow the people who have taken the lead on Gen AI in real time to show other people on their team how to use it and maximize its efficiency.
What kind of things at the moment are really exciting you about this field? And on the opposite side, are there any concerns that you have, or anything that you kind of worried about in regards to this technology?
Yeah, well, I mean, what excites me is what you see in just the growth. I remember Runway AI is one of the text to video generators. So, and then I think they came out February or March of 23, and it was kitschy, but it was cool because I could type text in a video, but it was nothing you were going to use anyplace. And you look at where they are, where OpenAI is with Sora. I mean, it is movie quality, almost movie quality video production you're getting in some cases. And that happened in the span of 12 months. The fact that technology is continuing to evolve, and there is an ecosystem that is not dominated by the Googles and the Metas and the others of the world, where startups are able to get in there and add value and add innovation that people need and that people want, people are demanding. So for me, it's just the pace of innovation that's happening. As I said, I've been a technologist since I was 17, went to West Point, started majoring in computer science. I was the kid who tore apart his Atari and Commodore before that, right? So I've always loved technology, but it has never grown at this pace. So what excites me is what's the future? What's coming? It's now not, I don't have to wait 10 years. It's 10 months that I'm waiting to see the next big leap. The concern, of course, is we've got to approach this properly. We've got to make sure that we abide by just what should be done properly. What are the governance structures that should be in place? But that doesn't scare me. There's a great book, Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark, he put out a couple months ago. He's a brilliant guy. And in there, one of the quotes he has that I really like is he said, "We invented fire, we really messed it up, and then we invented the fire extinguisher, the fire exit, the fire department, and that's what we need to do. We need to now focus on, now that the technology's out there, how do we develop the fire departments? How do we develop the fire exits and the fire extinguisher so that AI can be capitalized on and used for all its strengths, but that we don't do it and violate laws or ruin certain, I don't want to say ruin industries, but approach things in the wrong way. We need to do it in a proper and insightful way."
Do you think the public really understand the power of generative AI, or do you think they're still kind of hesitant, or they don't really understand what it is?
McKinsey's study where less than 10% of the workforce is using it tells you they have no idea. And we see that. I mean, there are 12 kind of very specific areas that as new companies on board our platform, we see them go towards, right? It's content generation, it's ideation, it's translation. It's all very specific tasks. What's fun is after you watch a team on board for a month or two, starting to evolve what they want to use it for and starting to find their own ways to use it. We work with all sorts of companies. We do a lot of work with nonprofits, though, which is really funny because nonprofits have always been tagged as kind of laggards to technology. And I've had nonprofits teach me how to use it. We had a major gift officer who called us up and told us she's using this to role play before she meets with a potential major gift donor. Because major gift donors are very public people. So she takes all the public information she can get about the individual. She feeds it into the generative AI. She takes their pitch deck and all the information about the university she's working with, puts it into the generative AI, and then asks the generative AI to take on the role of that individual. So not a generic investor or donor, but that individual. And now it's asking very specific questions that she wasn't prepared for, but now she's prepared when she goes into her meeting. And so I learned that. We're out raising money. I now do this before I meet with venture capitalists. I can take all the information about the portfolio companies, their investment thesis, and the particular partner at the firm I'm going to meet with. And 20 minutes before, I can have a role play session to find out what questions are going to be important to them. So I can either be ready for them or address them early.
Sounds incredibly ingenious, and the methodology for how people use it. Do you find that people sometimes use this in a way that is unexpected, and you kind of think, "Oh, I never thought it could be used in this way"?
Well, the example I just gave of the major gift officer is a great one, and that's you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. The greatest part of being an entrepreneur is having your customers teach you how to use your platform. Right? My co-founder and I and our entire team, we had very specific ways we saw this getting used. But when we start to see what people intuit on their own and what they discover on their own, that's where it gets a lot more exciting. And that's why we wanted to build a platform that's very collaborative, because we don't want those moments of genius to be kept in a silo at someone's desk. And so now if I can do something and easily share it, or do it as I'm meeting with my team and watch 8 other people learn how to do something. I mean, we see this on our own team. I won't say who on the team. One of our team members was watching my co-founder do something in a group chat. He's like, "I didn't know our platform could do that." And he's on our team. He uses our platform every day. And so, but it was in the context of a group chat. And he's now able to do that going forward as much as he wants.
So we're talking now about innovation and innovative uses. So what kind of notable innovations has your company introduced over the past 5 years?
Notable innovations over the past 5 years, our big one in our legacy platform, where we're very focused on predictive analytics, is we developed 35 billion proprietary insights on how 250 million Americans consume and donate in this country. And that will eventually get folded into what we will call Boodle GPT, which will be part of our marketplace that people can take advantage of. Much more of the innovation has happened in the last year. As I mentioned earlier, that's where a lot of the growth has gone on. And some of the features we're excited that we've had that you don't see a lot of other places in the generative AI. One is a multi-bot chatting. So right now, if you're talking to ChatGPT, you want Bard involved, you've got to go cut and paste out of ChatGPT, go log into Bard, and then go ask Bard. We allow ChatGPT and Bard and Llama and all the others to talk to each other. And so you can get multiple geniuses. You wouldn't go hire 3 geniuses and sit them in 3 corner offices in your office, right? You're going to put them in the conference room working together. The other I kind of alluded to before, which is the ability to share your work, right? Right now, instead of cutting and pasting my last prompt that I did, I can take the whole conversation and just share it over with one of my colleagues and let them see the work that I've done. And then taking it a step further, I can let them continue that chat. So talking about not duplicating effort, not wanting people to have to start all over again. If I've spent 20 minutes working on something, why make my colleague go start over in their instance of ChatGPT? In Boodlebox, they can just continue the conversation and go on. And then what we're really excited about is what I mentioned before is the group chatting, where teams can come together, really start to extinguish meeting fatigue and really get people involved and walk out of meetings with accomplishments instead of tasks that have to be done.
So you have mentioned some of the competitors very slightly, but what sets your company apart from the competition? Apart from that, you've got a lot of expertise that you've been using probably in the proto stages of a generative AI.
I think the big thing is we don't see ChatGPT and Bard and Llama as competition. They're in our platform. I promote them. I ask people to look at Claude and use Claude. I want people to use ChatGPT. At the same time, for those people who are the 90% who haven't adopted yet, we want to give them access to a garage. We call it a bot garage. We have a bot garage of over 900 AI helpers that will just engage them in a conversation like they would talk to their colleague. So if they need to build a marketing plan, they don't have to learn to be a prompt engineer. They can come in and simply say, I need to build a marketing plan to the marketing plan bot, and it will start to ask them questions. And it will get enough information to build the prompt in the background, put it into the large language model, and then give them the answer they need. And so it's not as much as we're better or competitive with them. It's just we're providing an ecosystem or a playground where everybody can come to and use them all.
Talk about you personally and your kind of management style. How do you stay motivated and inspired, especially when the journey feels particularly difficult or challenging?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I mean, that varies over an entrepreneurial journey. It's been 8 years now for this company. I've had many other companies, and there are always highs and lows. I saw a great chart probably 3 years ago. It was a meme, and it just kind of had the ups and downs, and it looked like, something you look at over 4 years. And the bottom was, the day in the life of an entrepreneur. And, one of the peaks was biggest customer ever. The low peak an hour later was we're getting sued, And that's the nature of being an entrepreneur. And that's not a life everybody wants. One of the big things for me, I have an amazing team. I mean, we have built a phenomenal team that, one, I don't want to ever let down. And so that drives me to make sure I'm pushing hard. And I think most of the team feels that way as well. But what's been most exciting in this new evolution of our platform, I've built many companies over 20 plus years now. I've never built a product I use on a regular basis. Even our legacy product, which we sold, which is predictive analytics, I didn't really use that in my daily life. I sold it to people. I believed in it. I knew it worked well, but it didn't impact me on my daily life. I literally use Boodlebox not daily, but sometimes hourly. My 10-year-old daughter comes home and uses it to help her do her homework, not to give her the answer, but to walk her through how to get to the solution. And then an hour later, she uses it to generate a bedtime story for her. So, the uses of this, I think what was really exciting to me is it's not just work. I love Slack. I use Slack every single day. I don't use Slack when I come home. It provides no personal use for me outside of my professional life. What's been really motivating over the past year is I can integrate this into all parts of my life throughout the day.
Just come to mind, why the name Boodle? Is there something particular about the name Boodle?
Absolutely. So my co-founder and I both went to West Point. And at West Point, your cadet room, you get issued everything. And you even get told where it goes, down to your toothbrush on the third shelf with bristles facing out at a 90-degree angle. The one exception was above your closet, there was an overhead, and you were allowed to have a box about this big that you could shove full of cookies, candies, and treats. And that was for over a century called a cadet's boodle box. And boodle at West Point, hard to get, highly sought after, very expensive. So what are we doing with generative AI? We're helping people find time in their day. When people ever ask me, what can I do to be helpful? I jokingly tell them, I'm like, find a way to get more than 24 hours in a day. In the past year, generative AI has done that. So we're helping people find time, which is highly sought after, very expensive, and hard to get.
A great answer. That's like the perfect answer you could have given to that question. Thank you very much for that. So in terms of like you as a person, do you find it hard to separate your work and your home life? I know some CEOs, they actually think that work is their hobby and they don't need a rest from it, while others say that they do need to balance that family and work commitment. Where do you stand on that particular topic?
I've never really thought about it, but having done companies when I was single, I totally looked at it was a hobby. It was what I did. I didn't need a break for it, and I did it 24/7. Getting married, having a family definitely puts things in a little bit different perspective. It is hard at times to break away. The building of the company does become a priority many times. And so you really have to work to kind of schedule things in. I mean, every Sunday night I sit down with my wife and, all right, how's our calendar look for the week? Where am I making sure I don't let work take over and that, we stay involved, we do things. And so I probably put more extra effort in. Good news is with generative AI, I have more hours in the day free to do that. And so I'm leveraging it in that regard. But it is something you definitely have to pay attention to.
And in terms of entrepreneurs in your particular field, what kind of qualities should a successful entrepreneur have?
One of the things we touched on before, you can't be scared to fail. And I think that was one of the great things the military taught me was, things are going to go wrong. Not everything's going to go right. And I was one of those kids, like everything went right all through high school, lettered in track and was valedictorian and straight A's, and I really hadn't failed a lot and got to West Point. West Point was a rude awakening and the military was as well. And so you've got to be ready to fail. You've got to be ready to let sunk costs go. And that's really hard for a lot of investors, but a lot of entrepreneurs, right? They've invested so much of their time, their money, their energy. They can't recognize when, hey, something's just not going to work. If we had stayed so myopically focused on our first product and said, hey, we can't look at generative AI because we have to focus here, we would have missed a huge opportunity. And it was only by making sure that while we were myopically focused on running a business, we were keeping our head above the horizon to see what else was out there and see what else we could take advantage of to do even better. You've got to constantly be able to be at 50,000 feet and then drill down to, a couple of inches and be able to move very easily between those stratospheres.
So what kind of methodologies does your company utilize to gather user feedback and leverage it to enhance project development and improvement?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is what I talked about earlier is just self-use. We are constantly on the platform. My entire team is on the platform using it. We keep a channel in Slack when we find things that maybe aren't bugs, but they're just not right. They're not what we want as a user. And so, and there is not a day that goes by that there's probably not half a dozen, hey, we should do this to make it better, that goes in there. So self-usage amongst the team, but beyond that, it's surveys, constantly putting surveys out to your customers and just asking, like, I know how I feel amongst my team of 14, and we talk on a regular basis, but we're not going to build it and hope people will come, right? We want active feedback. What are other people seeing? Our customer success team will do calls. So they'll ask for people's time to say, hey, I'd just like to gather your input beyond just a survey where you check blocks. People, as they are able to articulate ideas, will give you a lot more than you can get in just a survey. And then I think one of the last things we really look at is just metrics. It's data. We're a data-driven company. So what are people doing? How many people log in and never prompt? Why do they never prompt? Is it not easy? Is it not an easy path to get there? Are we not teaching them enough? And so it's constantly looking at the metrics and then evolving those metrics, right? Because the metrics we used 6 months ago are not as valuable to us as ones we need to have in place today.
Amazing answer. And just as we're coming towards the end of the interview, if someone wants to reach out to you or someone wants to contact your company, how is the best way to do that?
Absolutely. I am on LinkedIn, Shawn Olds. I'm also email Shawn, SHAWN at boodle.AI. And then if they want to learn more about what BoodleBox can do, it's boodlebox.ai. Easy to grab.
Perfect, lovely. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We've really enjoyed talking to you. I could talk to you all day, but unfortunately, time is limited. But thank you very much for coming. I do appreciate it.
Barry, thanks so much for having me. I've enjoyed the conversation.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for coming. That was Shawn Olds, co-founder and co-CEO of boodleAI.